Alright, what is up today, YouTube? Your boy Steve here at Vast Motorsports, and what we're going to be doing is a winterization and a service. There went the bilge pump kicking in. Something's going on with it because I got the drain plug out. There's no water in here, but it does kick on every so often, the automatic float. But anyway, we're going to do us a full service on it. Going to be changing the oil filter and oil, the fuel filter, and go ahead and put some stay-bill in it for the winter. And we're about to change the fuel filter first because I want to go ahead and start it up and get the fluids nice and warm, and that way to make it a lot easier to go ahead and change the oil in it. And also I'm going to do the outdrive gear lube. So let me show you what we got here. All right, so me personally, I like to wait until the spring to do my own personal boats because I don't want it sitting through the winter. Now, any shop will tell you to change it at the end of the season, which would be at the end of the, when fall's coming up and you're going to winterize it. Everybody does the full service on it. Me personally, the 18 to 20 years I've owned boats or more, I like to do my personal ones at the beginning of the season so I know everything is fresh. Because as you can see, it's not even cold temperature. It was, the last night or two. But as you can see, an engine always will sweat. That is just covered in so much condensation. And so I don't want the inside of it to be sweating. And anyway, that's why I just wait until the end of the season. But we're going to go over this one because this is a friend of mine and or his dad's. You're welcome, Chris and Paul. But obviously, they won't have time to get it done in the spring because myself, I'll be too busy, and any shop will be too busy. But, of course, Chris always likes to have me do any service that he can or interior work or anything like that because they trust me. So, anyway, I noticed here the power steering reservoir is completely empty. And I asked him, was the steering fluid working? Was the steering working good? He said it was working good for him. He didn't even know that it was low. So, I'm going to fill it. Let it run and see. I don't see anything down in the bilge where there's a evident leak of it, but I will double check everything just to make sure. I don't know exactly what year this Stingray is. I'm guessing somewhere around the 06 to 09 range, just looking at it. So it's probably never been checked. So anyway, what we're going to do is the oil filter's in here, but the fuel filter is over on this side. And it's right here. It's going upward. So I have a nice, I wanted to go with the Volvo factory OE stuff is what I always go by. That's your part number there for the water separator. I just got a regular old oil filter wrench that fits that one. And I'm about to bust this one loose. I went ahead and poured a little shot of the stay-bill. I've got the 360 Marine stay-bill. I poured a little shot in there and then filled it the rest of the way up with non-ethanol gas. I checked, it's got about 1/4 of a tank in there. I've already treated the tank itself. I put the stay-bill in, took a little bit of fuel and washed it down the filler neck to make sure it's in the tank. So I'm going to go ahead and bust this off here. I really don't have to even show you how to do that. All I'm going to do is unscrew it, take the new filter and screw it right on. And then we'll be ready to start it up and get it warmed up. And then that will be treating the fuel injection with the stay-bill. That's actually the stay-bill that I like to use in the boats. I'm not sponsored. I'm not getting anything out of that. I just use the product because I think it's a good product. And then, like I said, I just take the gas, wash it down the filler neck just to make sure it gets into the tank good and mixes with the fuel that's in there. And I'm going to go ahead and go put that back. Alright, so I have the new fuel filter on. I filled up the reservoir for the power steering. It's topped off. Checked the oil. It's good on the level. It's the old oil, but I wanted to make sure it was good before I even start anything. I have the water hose hooked up out back to the outdrive with the muffs, and that water is on. Threw some cardboard in here. That's just wet. Because I don't like to get, I know it's not the best interior, but it's far from the worst. I just don't want to get anybody's boat dirty with my shoes, so I threw some cardboard in. Let's give it a try. Let's see what she does here. I don't hear the fuel pump running. Might help if now he's got the kill switches engaged. It's fuel injected, electric pump, so I shouldn't have to do nothing there, but let's give it a try. Maybe. Ah, there she goes. Alright, I'm gonna let it run for a few minutes. Hell, maybe that one ain't injected. I thought it was. I know it's got the electric fuel pump. Oh no, it's carburetor. Okay, it's got the Holly on it. I thought this Volvo, I thought it was fuel injected throttle body, but anyway, we're gonna just let her run like that for a few minutes, just above idle. Let it get the oil and stuff warmed up and the gear lube. I'll check back in a few. Of course, once I started it and hit the wheel a couple times, it did pull the steering fluid down, so I'm going to top that off. All right, so I lowered the outdrive down, about to take the earmuffs off. Well, I'll probably leave them on because after I change the oil, I want to go ahead and start it just to make sure there's no leaks or anything. Let the gear lube move around a little, and then I can double check it, make sure it's topped off. Then we'll winterize it. Another trick of mine is I always back up on these ramps I have cut out of wood. Lower the front of the trailer as much as possible because this one has the swim platform, and what a pain in the butt it is to work under these. You'll bang your head. Just have to stay squatted and stuff. Plus, I like to have the outdrive all the way down. That way the oil and all runs out. Volvo's not my favorite. They do make a nice outdrive and all that good stuff, but it's just not my favorite. And you have to take the prop off, and then up inside here is the drain plug. So I'm going to go ahead and unscrew that and let it start draining. But first, I'm going to take and check it with the dipstick real quick. I just want to see, make sure what kind of fluid level it had in it. Go get a ratchet, because again, I have no idea who has serviced it last or when it's been. All right, let's break this dipstick loose, take a look, see where the fluid level's at. Just checking the level prior to undoing it so I can see what kind of condition it's in. About 3/4 or 5/8. I'm going to leave that out. It'll just breathe better when it's draining. And go ahead and pop this cover off real quick. It's just got this plastic cover here. And it's going to expose the vent plug, which is also the height when we're filling it, how high up we want the level. So that's this one on the side right here. We're going to go ahead and make sure she'll come undone before we even undo the drain plug. Woohoo! Somebody had her tight. Nah, it's just a little corrosion on it. I'm using what I like to use. I've had this thing so long. Oh my God, it's just Craftsman, but it's got a nice fat head, wide head, and you need that for these plugs. You don't want to strip the plugs out. Make sure you use something with a hefty sized head on it. Okay. Well, it was up to level. That's good. All right. If you see a little dribbling out like that, it's good. And the end of the plug is magnetized. There is nothing on it, so that's a very good sign. I like seeing that. Go ahead and get my pan under it down here to catch everything. All right, we're going to come in and try to undo this drain plug here. Boy, that's not good. There's really no telling the last time that's been done. Alright, so I went and grabbed my impact bit driver with a flathead on it. Nice, healthy flathead. See if I can get this. Okay. Alright, so it broke loose. Oh, you really got to be careful with these plugs. They will strip easy. So we're just going to let that drain in the pan. And that magnet looks good and clean, thankfully. Very little debris on it. Might have to let that drain and check and make sure that the O-ring is on there because, well, there it is. Okay, it's just a little dirty looking. I'm just going to clean this when I reuse it because it does look good and fluffy, like, you know, it's not compressed or torn. Just got a little corrosion look covering it, but yeah, it's actually nice. I don't know if you can see that or if it's going to focus or not. Just put the plugs up where you're not going to lose them while it's draining. While that's draining, I'm going to move into the inside and start siphoning out the oil. Engine oil. Alright, so I found the right, I mean, I already know which one, but I got my tube stuck all the way down the dipstick tube. You can use the fatter hose with the adapter here and just go right over the dipstick tube. Both dipstick tubes are special and they go all the way to the bottom of the oil pan or real close, designed to let you siphon the oil out. But if you have one small enough to go all the way down and bottom out on the bottom of the pan, then you know you're good. Got my siphon machine over here. I'm just going to pump her up. We're going to let her sit there and siphon. Go ahead and undo your oil fill cap over here, and that way it'll not have so much of a vacuum on it. That'll let it breathe. Take your cap off. Now it can suck all the oil out. I'm going to let that go to town while I get ready to change the oil filter. It's right inside here. We're just going to screw this. Ooh, she is full of oil. So we're going to leave that open for just a second like that. See if some of the oil will drain back down into the motor. We don't want to be making a mess in somebody's boat. Okay, it is draining back down. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and use this box here from the new filter element. It does come with a new O-ring. I'm going to lay that over to the side. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and open this bag. Use the bag. I'm going to set the cap inside the box here on that piece of plastic and lay that over to the side. Again, keep everything clean. We don't want to make a mess in somebody's boat. We're going to pull this one out, take a look at it ahead of time. We're going to make sure same size. Looks like her. Set this in here. Into the trash can outside the boat right here. Get the new filter ready. Get it lined up on that. Pushed onto that in the center piece. Make sure it's lined up. We're going to take our cap here. I'll tell you, that O-ring is really nice. I'm not even going to bother putting the other one on. There's no reason to. That O-ring is in excellent shape. There was no leak on this assembly at all. So I'm just going to screw it right back down on there. Now, if you did put a new O-ring, you'd want to get a little oil on your finger and go around it. Keep it lubed. So while it's screwing into that assembly, it doesn't try to catch or anything. This one is already lubed up. Now, I don't think we're out of oil yet in the motor, but it stopped siphoning, so I need to pump it a few again. Actually, that is it. You can hear when it's out. It'll be sucking air like that. And go ahead and snug this down while I'm waiting to make sure it's got everything. Just give it a good little snug like that. You don't have to over tighten it or torque it to any spec. Wipe off any excess that might have dripped down the sides of the reservoir there. Okay, so that's the oil filter changed out real easy. So now we've got the fuel filter and the oil filter changed. Pulled out all the old oil. It does have Sta-Bil in the fuel system now and in the carburetor bowl, so it's good to sit through the winter. So this is finished. Sucking. Still getting a little bit, because watch the difference. Listen to it when I pick this up. So yeah, it is still pulling some oil. I'll give it another minute here. Yeah, it's pulling a bunch of air now. That is a good reason to warm it up first. It just helps the oil come out easier because it's so thick. All right, all the oil's pulled out. Just going to go get a funnel real quick and fill it up. Alright, so the lower unit's finally finished draining, or it's probably been finished, but I was inside doing the oil, as you can see, siphoning and filling it up. So I'm getting my bottle of gear lube ready. It'll use 1.5 to 2 bottles probably. Got my little pump here, just stick it in there. This is 80/90 gear lube, this specifically for marine use. I happen to have the Bass Pro brand. You can get whatever you want. I've used this many times, seems to be a good product. So I'm just going to take and screw the fitting in right here. Don't have to be real tight or anything. We're just going to sit here and pump. Now this part here is going to take a little while. So just pump, kick back. Now, when we see it start dribbling out of here, we know we're full. But it's going to be a minute. Now, I'm going to go ahead and stick the dipstick in the top here because I ain't going to need to check it. So I'm going to go ahead and get that snug down. Again, O-ring looks good on there. I always inspect that O-ring. It is wet, so it's all right. I'm just going to snug that down good like that. And we're going to continue pumping till we see it come out here. Okay, that was 2 full quarts and it's still not coming out. I guess it holds more than the Mercruiser. Well, obviously it does. There's a little bit in this bottle. I'm going to go ahead and use this up. I always screw it into an empty bottle or close to it just to have something to keep the pump clean while it's stored in the back of the shop there. But there was a little bit left in it from whatever outdrive I did last. The pump won't get everything out of the bottles. That's why I just poured them together into one. Good thing I keep these on the shelf in there because I'm cracking into the 3rd bottle. There she goes. Alright, so it just started coming out. Give it a little extra. I'm going to pop this plug in. That way it creates a vacuum when I undo the bottom down there. We're going to get this one tight. Alright, she's tight. The drain plug, dipstick is tight. So now there's a vacuum created when I do undo it down here. Now, if you're quick, like I am, you just pull it out, stick your finger over it while you get the plug, get it lined up. You won't lose much of any oil. And what I like about this pump is, I've already spun it so many times, it just spins inside this hose. You don't need a clamp or anything there, so you don't have to sit there and unscrew the whole thing, like turning the bottle and the pump or any of that junk. You just spin the end right here and it comes out. Just be ready to put your finger over the hole. I'm holding it up against it with pressure. Now I know it's undone. Pull it out real quick, get your plug, be ready. Stick it right in the hole. Get some threads started there. And that's it. You really don't lose much. That's that. She is tight. Tight, yo, tight. Now we can put the cover back on. It is just plastic, so be careful with that. You don't want to crack that housing. It's going to be an expensive cover there. Talk about a high-dollar piece of plastic. Snug them up good. Not trying to bust anything, just get it snug. Now we can put our prop back on and we're good to go on our outdrive service. Stick around, check out the video on how to do the winterization. So we have our plate here, this adapter, spacer I should call it, prop. Now we'll put a little bit of grease on. Luckily it's in good shape. Let me get a little bit of grease. Actually some good old Vaseline. Keep it in the toolbox just for stuff like this. Okay. Works great for stuff like this, amongst other things. Put our adapter ring back. Make sure the splines line up. It's the only way it's going to go on. Okay, I'm going to get my nut set. Put this on and put my cotter pin back in. Alright, so now we're going to continue winterizing. What I'm doing is just come down on the side of the bottom of the manifold here, there's a plug, and over here on the side of the block, right in front of where the oil filter would go, or the remote reservoir. Now I pulled that plug and nothing came out, little dribble. So I knew that it was clogged up, and that's a pretty common thing on any boat motor. That's why it's not good to just rely on just pulling the plugs. As a matter of fact, over here I'm going to try to show you this one. As you can see, there's nothing coming out here, very little dribble, but what I'm going to do is take a little screwdriver or a pick, try to bust through there. Oh, there we go. Had to bust through all that sediment. So we're just going to let that run out till it stops, and then just put the little plug right back in the hole. Alright, so I went ahead and stuck the blue plugs back in. Make sure you don't cross thread them when you're getting them started. and they only need to be good and hand tight. You don't have to crank them down really hard. I always like to put the plugs back in. That way at the beginning of the season next year when you're ready to use the boat, you don't forget about them and take the boat out on the water and sit there and have an overheating issue or anything like that. Now what I like to do is one step further. I'm going to go ahead and this is the way I like to do it. Everybody's got their own way. Some people will run a little setup back there on the outdrive, kind of like earmuffs with a big jug. I don't like wasting all that antifreeze to do it that way. Trying to wait on a thermostat to open and all that crap. But and this one's also got a quick style deal here. But again, this to me is a foolproof way. We've got no issues doing it this way, and it's not that hard. Just go ahead and bust your clamps loose. And kind of tricky to do with the phone in my hand, though, of course. Here I am saying it's no problem. Just get your clamp broke loose. And move the clamp over out of the way. Might have to put the phone down to do this, y'all. I didn't bring any holder over here. But anyway, so what we're going to do is get the clamps over and out of the way. Sometimes you can reach over and just grab the hose and turn it, break it loose. They don't always like to do that, so I've got my little hose pick tool here with me. Let's see if I can do this. You want to be careful with these. Don't actually stick or stab, puncture the hose. More or less, you're just running this around it, get it broke loose. I should have brought some WD over here. Once again, as most of you know, I always say when you're working on a boat, WD-40 is one of your best friends. Now, if I had the WD with me, I could just squirt a little spray in here and it'll work itself around. And I'm going to have to set the phone down. If it gives me an issue, I'm going to go grab the WD. But normally, you just pop them loose like this, give it a twist. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to put that down there. Let that last little bit of water out. And then I'm just going to take my RV antifreeze. You can pick this up at any parts store, Walmart, boat place, whatever. Walmart's always going to be the cheapest price, of course. Go ahead and take some of that. What I'm going to do is grab these hoses off. These two here, I'm going to put a gallon down these, and then those, I'm going to do another gallon down that side. And then just slip your hoses on, tighten the clamps, and you are winterized. Alright, so that's it. Went ahead and poured, like I said, a gallon in these two, gallon in the other two. Put the hoses back on, tighten the clamps, so everything is ready to go for the next season. And that's pretty much it, y'all. So, this one has gotten the oil changed and the oil filter inside here. Topped off the power steering reservoir. Went out and did the outdrive oil, drained and refilled. And also the fuel filter, which is right here. Fuel filter water separator. And did the stay bill in it. 360 Marine stay bill. So this engine is good and winterized. This boat is fully serviced and ready to go out on the water next season. It's always good to at least charge the batteries fully, maybe unhook them, especially if it's out of the water like this. Make sure you pull your drain plug back there to let any water out, especially if you don't have a cover or anything. It's going to be raining in it. And that's why I say always charge your batteries fully before you let them sit. You don't want them to get wore down at all and then sit low or dead, because that destroys a good battery. So anyway, hope you learned a little something. If you did, give me a thumbs up, please. And I hope you subscribe to the channel. Those of you that already subscribed, thank you for watching and supporting the channel. We're trying to get her to grow. It looks like we're a little above 4,000 subscribers now. So thank you, everyone. And hope you like, maybe even share the video if you learned a little something. Thanks for joining in on the Vast Motorsports channel. Y'all have a blessed afternoon.